Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. All right. Hey there. Hi there. Ho there. This is RHJunior, RHJunior Reality Check Live, coming to you live over the system we call the System of Tubes, otherwise known as the Inner Tubes, by a boob tube called YouTube, bringing you yet another broadcast, irregular, possibly constipated, desperately in need of a laxative. This town needs an enema. Broadcast I like to call Spleen Squeezins. That's your cue, you accursed music. And it's missing. I have no music. I have no... Okay, here we go. It sort of lacks this... The new song sort of lacks the get up and go of the one I normally play at the opening. Hey there, hi there, ho there. So lonely. So lonely. So sad. The internet can totally see you now. Oh, Lord. I'm in nothing but my bathrobe and the belt isn't fastened. You've been warned. Can't blame me for any consequences. Nuh-uh. Oh, heck no. Come on, computer. See, this is what I pay $60 a month for. Slow frickin' internet. I don't know what it is. I think there's some sort of resource conflict between the online broadcasting system, the OBS program, and Firefox, because they just don't want to play together too well. I don't know. I'd try Windows product. I'd try their new browser, but I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. And I don't want to go on playing games. I do not want to go around playing games trying to get the internet, all my programs to do something that they're supposed to be doing anyway. Okay? It's aggravating, it's frustrating, it's annoying. I hate having to fight my computer just to get it to work half-assed. I don't know. You could probably throw a bleeding edge software and hardware system at me, and I'd still get the same results. I'm just one of those people. Your stream health is low. Whose fault is that? Is that my fault? Is that my fault, YouTube? The heck am I supposed to do to fix that? Somewhere between you and the thousands of miles of wire, somewhere in the thousands of miles of wire between you and us, there's something wrong. We're not going to do anything, and you can't. We're just here. We're just going to let you know to make you suffer. Yeah. Thanks heaps. Okay, viewers, you will experience buffering. I have no idea what the buffering does. I have no idea. No clue. No, really, seriously. Okay. I really need some music that doesn't eat up. I think half of the reason is that this. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch off the music. I'm going to switch to this thing. It's called rainymoods.com. Really ought to download a program like that or something. It just plays rain in the background. Hopefully that will consume less bandwidth and make things run a little smoother. I do not know. I do not know. I have no way of knowing, and I have no way of fixing it if it is not. Come on, Google here. Celebrating Amanda Crow. Who the hell is Amanda Crow? Google continuing its quest for irrelevancy. Let's find the most obscure person possible. Make them internet famous for 24 hours. Good night. All right. Wayne, is the rain too loud? Is the rain too loud? Tell me that. Tell me if the rain gets too loud. Oh, well, Google AdSense report. My monthly revenue grew by 1%. Nice job, they say. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do some drawing today. I'm trying to do some drawing today. If I can get the program to run without making the entire system choke on itself. Oh, look, you want me to do 3 things at once. I don't know. It could be anything. It could be something stupid like I haven't uh, I haven't I don't know defragged the hard drive, but this my system automatically let's do a quick update. I got a little program on here called what is it called? A little program on here called I got several different programs that are supposed to tweak my system and make it run faster and better and cleaner and smarter and all this. Well, one in particular, AVG program, and it runs, and it every now and then it'll pop up and say, "Here, you want me to clean this up?" And I'll say, "Okay, clean that up," and it cleans out old viruses and bad links, and it defrags the drive, and it does that about once every a couple of days. So I don't have to worry about remembering to sit down and do that. I remember when you'd sit down, you'd defrag your hard drive, and you would sit there and you would watch it, and it would take, I mean, literal hours, literally hours. Sweet merciful crap. Yeah. I've got another review on the Great Alcorn Hark. Yeah, basically a guy saying that Twilight has no place to play skeptic about anything. Well, you know, I make fun of that a lot myself. I'm like, good grief, But somebody has to. Somebody has to, in any society, no matter how incredible or fantastic or unbelievable the things are that go on around them, there's got to be somebody there that's, that puts on the brakes. There's got to be somebody that goes, no, wait a minute, are we sure this is true? Yeah. Can we double check on this particular thing just once, Because arbitrary skepticism sounds bad, but arbitrary gullibility? That's even worse. Oof. Down to $10. Bought lunch today. It had it delivered here. There's a big sandwich from Smitty's. Oh, they make good subs, but you have to tell them. One thing is that you have to tell them to set the veggies aside. Nothing you say will prevent them from toasting the veggies on the sandwich. I have written special instructions, and I write in toast the sandwich, then add the veggies, and they'll go right ahead and toast the sandwich twice, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand why anybody would think that would taste good. Can you think of any circumstance where cooked lettuce tastes yummy on a sandwich? I mean, we had one of the major franchises try to sell sandwiches where the veggies and bun were on one side and the meat and the bun were on the other, because that much it would stay the veggies would stay cool and crisp that much longer. Just the half a minute it took you to get from the counter to your table. Open it up and eat it. That much, that little bit. But here you got restaurants right here. Their idea of they found out that Subway toasts their sub, so they toast everything. They don't know is that Subway toasts the sub and then they add the veggies. Standard procedure. They stuff all the veggies, and you got cooked lettuce and boiled pickles and bleh. But if you what I have to do is I have to ask them to put the veggies on the side. So they would rather put all the veggies in a plastic baggie and stick them, just go to that much more trouble rather than just wait and add the veggies after the sandwiches. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. But I'll say this: they make big, nice, big, full sandwiches. I ordered a sandwich. I ordered a Subway. I've ordered the submarine sandwiches from Domino's. I've ordered the Subway sandwiches from Papa John's, and I've ordered the Subway sandwiches from Smitty's. Smitty's sandwiches are almost twice the size for the same price, or rather, their sandwiches are actually, they're a good bit larger and they cost a good bit less at the same time. So hello. All right, let's a big roast beef sub and a glass of ice cream, a cup of ice cream, one of the big drink cups full of ice cream, and a 2 liter of Dr Pepper. The reason I do it that way is because that way I can make a ice cream float. Take about half of the ice cream, put it in a big mug, pour in some Dr Pepper, and got an instant float. Don't know why more people don't do that. And I'm still holding a grudge against the Irish. And you go, where am I going with this? There's a show where it's called Try. It's a YouTube channel where they have generally Irish people. Irish people for some reason. It's an Irish show, I guess. Try various products, usually products from the United States. And so it's hysterical sometimes. Sometimes it's outright tragic. Like when they had them try that Lutefisk. I mean, they opened the can and it cleared the room. But they tried American sandwiches and donuts and candy. They tried all sorts of American food products, and they tried American root beer. They tried several different brands of American root beer. And they go, they're so nasty. And I'm like, get thee behind me, you infidel. But I have to say, yeah, I've had root beer recently, and the stuff you get nowadays, it's not root beer. It's just not good. It's not good anymore. It's flat and bland and people forget. Okay, root beer, ginger beer, root beer, ginger ale, drinks like that. They used to be made from actual ginger ale. Used to be made from actual ginger. Now go in there, go into the soda aisle, look at the ingredients on the bottles. They don't use real ginger anymore. You have to go begging to find anybody that makes ginger ale with actual ginger in the ginger ale. Nobody uses it, and those few that do, it's basically a trace ingredient. They wave the ginger root over the vat and say, "There, we've added the ginger." Cheapskates. And root beer, I forget what kind of root. I believe it's sassafras root. No, sarsaparilla root. Well, I forget which. There are several ingredients that go into root beer, like licorice root, sarsaparilla, several other ingredients that go into it, into a real root beer. And over the decades, they've put less and less real ingredients and more artificial flavors So basically, you're getting corn syrup, water, fizz, and a couple of chemicals somebody licked out of the bottom of a test tube. I use that statement a lot, but really, that's the truth. You'd be amazed at how many different things that have no real ingredients in them anymore. Now, marshmallows. Now, here's one for you. Marshmallow syrup used to be a medicine. Bet you didn't know that. It was made from the roots of a plant. It was a marsh plant. It was called the mallow plant. And over the years, they made the syrup. And then they just got an interesting flavor. And then one day, somebody added more sugar to it and foamed it up, and ta-da, marshmallow candy. Licorice is made, real licorice. You can get real licorice still, but it has to come all the way from Australia. There's a particular brand of Australian licorice that is still made with licorice root. And I've tasted it. The black licorice is so much better than the gunk that they put out there for Easter and Halloween. Because it's real licorice root. And it tastes like it. And it tastes good. Did you know that nougat, there is such a thing as real nougat. It's an actual recipe. It used to be that nougat was a candy all to itself. And it was made with egg white and I forget what other ingredients, but it is a very specifically made type of candy. And this gunk that they put in the middle of candy bars now, that's not nougat. That's not real nougat. It's fake. It's heartbreaking when you realize that you've spent most of your life eating plastic. Basically, you've been eating fake plastic and wax versions of real food. This is why I get so angry, and this is why I got so upset when I asked my shopping person to go out and buy up a bunch of boxes of pudding and boxes of Jell-O, and she came back with the sugar-free stuff. Because it was the only thing on the shelves. I should have specified. I should have clarified to her if it isn't. I hadn't really clarified to her that I had issues with sugar-free stuff. But so I really don't blame her. But I really wish she would, use a little more initiative and a little more thought. If she's, she's not, she's a person. She shouldn't be running on autopilot. If she comes to a questionable circumstance, she should stop, think, ask questions. Call me back and say, "Is sugar-free okay?" That much would have changed, the whole outcome. But anyway, I mean, fake food. That's what it is. It's fake food. And more you see so-called chocolate candy. They call it chocolate. You notice they start calling it chocolate flavored candy. They're not putting real chocolate in it anymore. They're putting less and less. Oh man, the huge. When I forget who it was that took over. Who are the people that make those eggs? Cadbury. I forget which big, huge, faceless, soulless corporation took over Cadbury, and they lied straight to people's faces. No, we're not going to change the recipes. No, we're not going to cut corners. And the first thing they did is they started cutting corners and changing the recipes and removing the cocoa butter, removing the actual cocoa pudding, putting all these synthetic fake chemicals in, and people were fit to be tied. Because the people will say they taste the old Cadbury eggs and the new Cadbury eggs, and the new Cadbury eggs taste like blue. This is why people turn into whole food nuts. This is why health food stores still survive, despite the fact they're not actually serving any real food. Is because people want to eat real food and they can't get it. This is why people go paleo, because it's still kind of hard to fake a slab of meat, a slab of steak, a leg of chicken, a potato, or an apple. They come up with this processed food. They can, they can pretend it. They can put in like, 5 ounces of actual meat into their lunch meat, and then 99% of it is soy or something even more horrible. So like today, remember the slogan "Real food for real people." Nowadays, it's fake food for the lesser peons who live down the hill from us. It's, just makes me angry. It makes me frustrated too. This has always been the case. This has always been the case. There's always been crooked people trying to scam other people. This is, in the Bible. This was in the Old Testament. Diverse weights and measures. They were listed as an abomination before the Lord, because this was how they were passing off. And this was one of the ways that people have been passing off fake food as real food. Like adding sawdust to bread. Oh, that sort of thing went on even in all the way up into the Victorian era. One of the things that went on, you see, back at that time, white bread was considered more refined and therefore better for you. Because progress, science, and all that stuff. Because white bread was a sign of being cultured, refined, and having the better things in life, and the belief was therefore it was healthier than brown bread. The thing of it is that the bakers were caught. They were adding things like chalk, talcum, plaster to the flour and selling it. They were cutting the flour. It was a serious criminal problem in London, England. They would try and make milk stretch by adding. I forget what it was they added to milk. Milk would spoil. They would add something to it that would disguise the flavor and the smell. And so you had thousands and thousands of dysentery all over the place. Children drinking spoiled milk. Now, to be fair, it wasn't, this wasn't exactly that particular one wasn't necessarily a fraud. They sincerely believed that this additive made the milk, preserved the milk somehow. They were dead wrong. But this has been going on forever. It's been going on forever. Probably will go on forever until the second coming of Jesus Christ Himself. People trying to cheat by selling fake food. And we eat it because it's what we can afford. This is the reason paleo has become something popular, because most of the processed food. Well, let's put it this way: the rule of thumb for paleo is the more effort it takes to turn something into edible food, the less likely it is to actually be good for you. What you have to go through to turn corn into corn oil, or to turn vegetable oil into margarine, for instance. Terrifying chemical processes that would give you nightmares. Uh, what they have to do to if all these chemicals they've added, olestra to try and replace fat, it failed. Everybody freaking out about what was it? Unsaturated fats, poly something, bilateral fats. I don't know, but they were screaming bloody murder, and they wanted all these particular uh, uh, fats banned because they're bad for you. And what it was is that they had pushed these additives in the first place. The same people that wanted it banned now were the ones that pushed it into the market to replace lard, tallow, butter, real animal and vegetable fats. Fake food, man. And you want to take care of. No, but nobody wants to treat themselves like crap. Okay, nobody wants to treat themselves like crap. Everybody wants to be healthier and to eat healthy and to eat only real solid, healthy foods, and get plenty of exercise and all this other stuff. But it's it's almost impossible to do so. Because I mean, got a friend of mine. He's trimmed off an incredible amount of weight. He's in great health now. He just hammered himself into shape. And congratulations all up and down the road to him. You know what I'm saying? But to be fair, he does have the means to invest in his own health that way. What do I mean by that? He can afford to be picky about what he eats, about he just laying it down. I'm not trying to sneer at it. No, man, excellent. Great for him. I'm glad for him. I'm happy for him. But when you have to try and outwit your grocer in order to get good, healthy food, nobody has that much energy. Very few people, if any, have had the time and energy. Or money, or resources, or just a simple know-how. And it doesn't help that the people who are supposed to be experts are contradicting each other every 5 minutes, changing their minds every 5 minutes too. Uh, I've got an NPC in my comments section. Trump failed to deliver. You notice you notice the people that make all these horrible accusations never specify things. They never really specify. They just orange man bad. Gives them a sense of purpose and meaning to imagine that this scary orange man from Washington D.C. is persecuting them. How much you can do to clear things up for them? It's just Good grief, you know. I just flat out tell you, I haven't got time to I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I do not want to spend my life. Beyond a certain point, I don't want to waste time trying to debate somebody, an NPC on my website who's been sucking the Kool-Aid for 20 years. Oh my. Excuse me. Oh, neat. A discreet garden in grounds. Oh, I thought it was. I'm looking at this ad. I thought it was for like a little wood burning stove. It's not. It's a garden in ground subwoofer. If you're putting audio systems out in your garden, planting them in there, you need a hobby. You need to get out more. You have way too much money and way too much time on your hands. Oh, brother. Got another group that wants to raise meat taxes. Oh, brother. Now, is there any topic you'd like to talk about? It was on AO3. The guy was commenting on AO3. I was like, oh, geez, not again. Now, I have tried to avoid letting political issues get too far away on AO3. I've had enough problems and headaches over the years where an all out, haul out, hair pulling, dragged out fight over some social or political issue takes place in the comments section, and nobody, myself included, would let it go. So I'm trying to tone it down just an itsy witsy bit. I really. Oh, my legs. Uh, I'm gonna probably yammer for a couple hours before I do any actual drawing. I'm just oh, bug up the nose. Ugh, I hate that. You get these little no-see-ums that fly everywhere and just and there you go. Oh, thanks. I needed my nose hairs inspected. Ah, uh, she didn't show up yesterday. She didn't. She didn't show up Wednesday. She didn't show up Thursday. She didn't show up today. And I called her and we're sorry. This number has been changed or disconnected. Yeah, typical. She forgot to pay her cell phone bill. Oh, I've got the help wanted sign up in the window. Before you ask, I've taped it up there. I'm going to have to wait until the end of the month before I have any money to pay them if anybody shows up. It's always one thing or another. I swear, I seriously overslept. I mean, I slept almost all day Thursday and most of today. I slept all day Thursday, all night Thursday night, and slept all the way till noon today. I must have needed it. But good night, Almighty. The dreams. Seriously weird, man. I can't even remember them. All I can remember is that they were seriously freaking weird. Most of my old dreams, most of my dreams, most of the retro dreams, the dreams I've had before many, many times, they often featured, finding a house of my own or finding a car or vehicle of my own. Even though essentially I have a place of my own. I'm right here in my trailer. But every now and then I'll have a dream. I never move into this like beautiful mansion or anything. It's always this run down, broke ass dump of a place in these dreams. But I'm still like it's got 2 stories and it's got all this stuff. It's perfect, and and I love it. And because I don't care how it looks. I mean, I've lived in worse, and and I just like that it's got all this space and it's mine, and like I've finally passed the mark or something. I don't know. And it's practically an abandoned. In these dreams, it's practically like an abandoned building almost, but it's mine now for whatever reason is makes sense in the dream. I dream about getting vehicles. I dream about getting a car, and as the dream goes on, I'm driving it someplace. The car gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and the next thing I know, it's no longer a car. It's a go-kart with pedals that are falling off, and then the wheels fall off, and I'm sitting there in a cardboard box. And my dreams are just full of optimism and hope. I think the one hope that I have that I still cling to, that's still unmarred, is the simple hope of my salvation. And that's even though I doubt constantly, and struggle with that all the time. I know that Jesus is the Messiah, and I know that I called on Him to be my Savior, and I can at least hold on to that, no matter how bad it gets. But it's all the other things that people seem to take for granted, that they hope for, that they have ambition for. I've just sort of lost the belief that these things will eventually come your way. That the belief that things will eventually work out. No, uh, I don't know how to say it or how to justify it. I can't. That's just my nature. Um, I've become a very I don't know whether you call it cynicism or apathy. Maybe a little bit of both. And it says something about me that my dreams generally, when I'll have a dream where, I'll have a magic wand, or I'll have superpowers, or I'll have a fantastic new vehicle, and as the dream goes on, the wondrous thing I have gets weaker and weaker, and less reliable, and the magic wand won't magic no matter how hard I try, and the super suit that give me my superpowers stops giving me my superpowers, and I'm flying, and I keep and I fly lower and lower and lower, and I struggle harder and harder just to stay airborne, and then it just poops out, and then I wake up. I once had a dream where I had myself a mansion, a manor. It was another abandoned ghost house, pretty much. Parts of it were rotting. Parts of it were on fire. I do not expect my life to. There is something in me that I do not expect my life to get better. It's a sad commentary, I know. It's a very sad commentary. To It's just that from what I've seen in this life, most people's stories are like the story of Job, only they end before reaching the last chapter, where Job gets, God gives Job everything back that he had lost. Now I'm being very bitter and very cynical here, I think, and I'm sorry if I'm bringing anybody down. I'm not trying to say that's the way it is. Because there's some little voice in me that says, it's not like that. It's not like that. But I'm just stating I don't know, the overwhelming pressure, the overwhelming sense of things that I've lived with. You tell people something like this, they get mad at you. I notice this. You tell people that you have a depressive personality, and they get mad at you for that. And their idea of encouraging you is basically just another way of chastising you for not being optimistic in the face of all suffering. You know, and that's why so many people as cynics are so bitter. La 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 la. Put on a happy face. Punch. Uh, I think it's a mistaken thing. I think Dennis Miller, he put it like this. He said people, everybody running around. I'm not happy. I'm just not happy. I'm never happy. I just don't feel happy. And he says, you're not going to be happy. Happiness isn't forever. He says, you know, happy is like like one cookie or a cigarette on your cigarette break, or having sex. So you go home, you get in bed with your wife, you have sex, you smoke the cigarette, you eat the cookie. That's it. Happiness is a moment that happens from time to time. It's not a state of being. In part, I think he's probably right. In this world, it is. Happiness is fleeting. That's why they refer to it as the bluebird of happiness, not the blueberry bush. You don't just go out there and pick some happiness. You have to chase that bugger down. And you're lucky if you can hold on to it for a minute. It gets a little harder to chase down as you get older. Peace and contentment are momentary things in this life. They come, but at least they come back around once in a while. You know? At least every now and then, a moment of happiness will come into everyone's life. Even in times of pain. It's probably why, this is probably why I'm so adamant, so uh, avid about humor, about laughter, about comedy. When I was a kid, I knew already what kind of things I liked. I like science fiction, and I loved comedy. There's everything else that was on TV. You want to watch this? 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 Would you like to watch this comedy? Comedy it is. I didn't care what it was. If it was supposed to be funny, I was all over it like white on rice. Because a laughter is about the purest. Even if it's brief, it's about the purest moment of happiness you can have. It's one of the things that God blessed us all with. Moments of spiritual epiphany and faith are another example. But you're foolish if you think you're going to walk around in a state of, even the most faithful, devout Christian on the face of the earth does not walk around in a state of religious epiphany all the days of their life. They have as many down times as you do, and probably more. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. That's what, happiness is fleeting and rare and momentary, and that's what makes it all much more precious. What was my idea for hippogriffs? Well, first of all, it wasn't about something, you're talking about My Little Pony? Why I was so disgruntled about the hippogriffs? Well, my issue is that they took the sea ponies. Well, they're not really sea ponies, they're hippogriffs in disguise. It's like, give me my sea ponies back, you jackass. They had they had the hippocampus style of sea ponies in the movie. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I've been waiting for this. I've been hoping that they would have, actual sea ponies, not the seahorse ones. Shooby doop doopy doop doop. But, the mermaid style sea ponies. And I was like, yes! And then it turns out that they're just all hippogriffs in disguise. And I'm like, just what did you friggin' see a friggin' just yank the cookie out of my mouth, why don't you? possibility of life in other dimensions. Be nice if they had determined the actual existence of other dimensions first before we started on that debate. We haven't even located life on other planets yet. Let's not jump ahead of ourselves. We're looking for intelligent life in somewhere out in the galaxy, and we haven't found any here yet. It's as the joke goes. I like one of there are a lot of these posts in Tumblr around the internet. People talking about humans as the science throwing around the science fiction idea of humans being awesome badasses in their own right, out in the galaxy, and the general idea being is that we go out into the galaxy and then we find out that Earth is basically the equivalent Earth is basically the equivalent of the galaxy's Australia. And one writer made the point: you don't know you're from a death planet until you leave it. And everybody writing in how these aliens are freaking out when they find out the life we lead back on our home planet. Are you telling me you live in places where the temperature is routinely below 0 degrees centigrade year round? Oh, well, yeah, we have a couple of exploratory things out there, Go out and look at the penguins and the polar bears. What's a polar bear? It's a large predator. It's about, weighs in at a couple of tons, and you roam around you willingly roam around frozen, lifeless continents covered with giant man-eating predators of your own free will. Yes. Explain to me again why we're not supposed to assume your species is mentally ill. And everybody doing various different short stories about encounters between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. I feel crunchy. I don't know what I mean by that. It is 7 o'clock at night right now. I was asleep till noon today, and I already feel tired again. And I want to crawl back in bed, except I practically need a new bed. Mattress keeps sliding. For some reason, the mattress I have, it's this big floppy, futon style mattress. It keeps sliding off the bed. There's a couple of times I've fallen asleep on the side of the bed and woken up and my legs are on the floor. Think I can get some rope, tie it off or something. I don't know. Many questions to be asked. Many. I feel sorry for Robin Williams. I really do, right now. Most people don't. I mean, I've never heard a really good description of depression. I've never been diagnosed with depression myself. And all I know is that there are long stretches where I feel like crap, and I'm in days, weeks, months where I'm plagued with doubt, uncertainty, loss of faith, and I can't imagine that depression is any much more, clinical depression is any much more fun than that. But what was the description? I've heard a couple of descriptions of depression. Here we go. I think I found it. It's a food metaphor, really. This one guy says I once tried to explain depression to someone. Is it like one day you gradually started to lose? Imagine one day you gradually started to lose both your sense of taste, and your ability to feel full, and you don't know why. But now everything you eat tastes like mashed potatoes. Nothing you eat is satisfying. You keep eating because you must eat to live. But the effort that it takes to prepare food is taxing, and there is no payoff. You just know it'll taste like mashed potatoes. You just know you will still be hungry. So you stop bothering with seasonings. Then you stop bothering to use ingredients you used to like. Then you start to wonder what the point is of eating at all because there's no payoff. You still feel hungry and you're sick of the taste and you don't know if you'll ever enjoy food again. And you don't know why this is happening. Now, if someone came up to you in this scenario and says, well, have you tried spicing up your food, using different ingredients, eating food you used to love? It isn't necessarily helpful because the reason you stopped doing all that in the first place is that everything tasted like mashed potatoes. And I'm like, that is that is an evocative description of depression. And it describes even what I've sometimes felt, and even what I've sometimes seen in other people who have been solidly diagnosed with depression. People, I don't know if I'd qualify for depression. I don't know how, where, can you take a blood test? Can you take an online written test? What do you have to do to be clinically, to be officially recognized as depressed? Because there are some people who look, oh yeah, you went to a psychiatrist, right? Apparently jumping off a chair with a rope around your neck, that'll get you qualified as genuinely depressed, but a little extreme to get a proper diagnosis. But you know, it's you don't. I suppose it's one of those things you don't have to live through it yourself to recognize it when it's described. You know what I mean? I haven't even started shopping for Christmas. Well, I don't have any money, so if I do shopping, it's probably gonna be money orders, gift certificates. Here's your Amazon card. Some of these are cool. Here, let me show you some items, ideas here. Let's see here. Just uh, check that out. That's a moon lamp. Let's see here. Rose foam soap dispenser. Makes a soap come out as a rose for some reason. I don't know. It's hydrophobic shoe spray. Make sure shoes or whatever else you spray it with waterproof. Ridiculously so. A flash drive with a cryptography key on it. That's neat. Now I like this one. Blue invisible ghost pen. That's nifty. Galaxy bedding set. 3280. Yeah. Pull that on somebody who's still coming up off of medication. I'm falling into space. No. A self-stirring mug. I don't know. How does it stir? Is there a little paddle in the bottom or something? Because that could be a pain to clean. The 3D printing pen, which is basically it's basically a wax extruder, I think. Melting plastic extruder. A Harry Potter pop-up book. $60. Look at that. An Airzuka for $25. An apron cooking guide. It has like it's even printed upside down, so you can just lift it up and look at it. It's got you measure all the little cups and conversion tables and things. That's neat. Steel dictionary safe. A liquid plastic welder. An avocado growing kit. Hooray. Fire opal soap rock. Stickers. Kinetic sand. Edible gold paint. It's interesting. Waterproof socks to go with your waterproof sneakers. A personalized hamburger press. My mom used to have one of those. World's loudest whistle, 142 decibels. Find somebody with... That's my plan for next Halloween. Just wait out on the porch and hand out Vulvazuelas. Moonlight lamp. Oh dear. Ooh. Oh dear. I'm going to have to run real quick. I'll be right back. Howdy ho, I'm back again. Sorry about that. When you get to gut rumbles, you can't argue. You know what I'm saying? Okay, look at this. That is a grip and stand for phones and tablet. I have no idea. It's $9, so it can't be too large. Oh, one of a mini version of one of Strandbeast's wind-propelled walking things. You've seen those. Edible, genuine gold leaf for drinks. $10. Oh, just get out of here. Just get out of here, seriously. LED light waterproof shoelaces. Oh my. 10,000 different ways to light up your feet these days. Toilet night light. Well, if you got a lot of people in your family stagger off in the middle of the night to go to the can, you might think of this as a good idea. It's like, please aim here, please aim here. A mini camera pen. Okay, that'll get you in trouble. Hey, a Rick and Morty portal gun toy. I looked at a little bit of Rick and Morty. My first question is, what the hell is wrong with you people? But just no, stop it, quit, please. Really. I'm looking through here. Trying to find something. checking up a few things here. You know, I have to say it. I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but the new movies, they have Luke Skywalker and even the Ghost of Yoda saying, the past needs to be destroyed. And it's saying that the Jedi Order needs to disappear, and be gone forever. It needs to be destroyed. And I have to say it. I hate to say it, but on all the different, of all the points, that's the one I agree with them. Yes, I do. I do agree with him on it because looking at the moral and ethical code of the Jedi Order, as it was shown in the original movies and in the prequels, going all the way back to the original movies, but also in the prequels, it was screwed up. It was morally screwed up. They weren't overtly monstrous or evil, but they were not the force for good that people believe them to be. Just basically run down. Uh, you know. Oh, Wild Wild Weezer. Well, Weezer. How you doing? Yeah. Yes, you boil milk for several different recipes. Where did I go? I had to go to the bathroom. When your gut rumbles, you don't argue. Trust me on this. You want to know what kind of game would I like to design? Oh shoot, man, that depends so much on how skilled you are as a coder. Think about it. Are you what you want to do versus what you are capable of doing, and versus what you think is reasonable to do. Uh, you know, among other things, I would like to take WildStar or World of Warcraft and redo them from something a game like that. Do it from scratch. I would make World of Warcraft. I would make it so that this is more of a wish list of things that I wish that I could they'd change about World of Warcraft. Let's be honest. But if I could design a game, I would do World of Warcraft from scratch and then start with these changes. First of all, I would make it. You choose which faction you go to, regardless of what race you pick. We're supposed to be past that whole birth is destiny thing. You know. So you want to play an ogre who's working in the alliance? Great. They've already got NPCs in the game that are aligned with the Alliance. Why can't the players do that? Because tradition. But I would have it so that the player could pick whichever faction they wanted to join. I would have it so that there was more than 2 factions. If you really want to pull that whole the different sides all have their different points, you're going to need more than 2 sides. Okay? And frankly, the way they're aligned right now makes no sense. I would have at least 4 or 5 factions just with the races they have now. I would have the humans, the dwarves, and the gnomes over here. Consider them, the builder races, the ones that are trying to, that are building their civilization. I would have the Tauren, the Volparen, yes, and it looks like they're going to be a race, playable race, and the Pandaren over here, because they're and also the Night Elves, because they're all all about peace and harmony and being at one with the earth and with nature and so on and so forth. And I would have the truly evil group. You want to play an evil a-hole? Great, we've got a group for you over here. You've got warlocks, the undead, demon hunters, quote unquote. I'm sorry, let's not fool ourselves here. They went and chug-a-lugged puree of demon in order to get demonic powers. It's not the kind of people you want on your side if you're fighting for the light. Well, you see where I'm going with this. There would be at least 4 or 5 different groups to choose from, each with their own objectives, each with their own, and that would make it much easier to justify the idea of alliances shifting from expansion to expansion, because there's only so many times you can go, okay, we need to team up with the Horde again, even though they stabbed us in the back last time, and they've gone absolutely bug nuts insane this time. Come on. Anyway, there are other little details like that. I would add mounted combat. Riding in a vehicle or on horseback should give you pluses to combat. Okay? I would have mounted combat. I would have flying combat. I would reintroduce. I would take the current battlegrounds and reintroduce. The player versus player. I would remove the limitation on flight. And I would have air-to-air combat possible. And you would see you'd see some radical changes in strategy. I would also have some of those things that they've got lying around. Every battlefield in this game, player versus player battlefield, they've got catapults and trebuchets and other siege engines just lying around, but you can't use them. They're just props. Time for a switch up, Time for a change. Time for some new ideas. You'd see some of these crusty old, 20-year veterans of the game, suddenly being caught flat-footed. I can't tell you how depressing it is sometimes to see every player versus player battleground, the exact same strategy every single time. They're on one side of the battlefield, you're on the other side of the battlefield, and everybody pours out Zerg Rush. That's it. Nothing more mentally complicated than Zerg Rush. Every now and then I'll bring up this idea to the people in the the players in the alliance while we're sitting there waiting for the timer to click down. We're sitting here in this fortification. They can't see what we're doing. Now, the usual practice is that we all go running out there, running across the battlefield, run past each other, and into the other players, into the other team's fortress to try and steal the flag and get back. Some real innovators will swerve left or right, and they'll have a huge battle in the middle zone, which goes nowhere. But this is the usual strategy. What do you say we just sit here in our fortification, in our fortress, and wait for them to come to us? I cannot begin to imagine the look of surprise on some Horde player's face. He comes running up that rampart, comes running into our fortress, and sees everybody sitting there waiting for him. But no, nobody ever tries that. Nobody ever tries it. Nobody tries anything different. They have all the, this is supposed to be, this is supposed to be a game about strategy and tactics and battlefield. It's just nothing is set up so that you can try anything. Nobody wants to try anything new. Nobody tries any tactic. No tactics change. No innovation. Hack, slash, and Zerg rush. That's it. I would seriously mix some shit up for them. I would go in there every few weeks and I'd be changing stuff around so that they never knew quite what they could expect. Hey, guess what? That lake you were using as a moat in the last game, it's gone now. All the Horde sitting there, what? The Alliance members, oh crap. And as a special addition to this battlefield, we're releasing You're Waiting Live Weasels! Ah! Yeah. Just something new, Now look, you can never guess what is going to take off. Look at it, Flappy Birds. Flappy Birds is the stupidest little game you ever saw in your life. The guy that made it, the guy that invented it, I forget, he panicked and shut it. He made several $1 million in the first couple of weeks. He panicked and shut it down. I'm like, you dummy. No, I've never played Fortnite, and I have no idea what PUBG is. All I'm saying is, if I was put in charge of World of Warcraft, you'd see some changes made. One of the things I'd definitely add is some actual player housing. You see, one of the things about you got to remember about player housing in a online game, especially in an online game, is that its purpose is for the player to show off. It's all vanity. It's not supposed to be a utilitarian part of the game. You might have certain advantages, like if well, for instance, in Toontown by Disney, your little house had a garden that you could grow flowers with, like cream pies and ball horns and squirting flowers, for your battles, extra weapons and things like that, and but its first purpose was, you could decorate it and put furnishings in, and and spruce it up, make it pretty, make it bigger, make it But World of Warcraft, they did the exact opposite. They finally gave you quote unquote housing in Warlords of Draenor. Basically, they gave you a garrison, and your objective was to upgrade this garrison to level 3, till all the buildings on it were level 3, and you could have whichever craftsman you wanted. You could have it had a mine, it had a garden, it had a fishing spot. Uh, you could have a lumber mill or a gnome factory or any number of things. But the problem was is that regardless, it was everything was almost identical. There was very little, there was very little you could do. There was very little variety that the player could come up with, decoration wise, design wise. Uh, uh, Originally, there was supposed to be, rivalry and competition and battles in between the garrisons, but nobody bothers. Nobody bothers. Nobody bothers to visit other players' garrisons because they all look the same. You know, they go through the same phases. They take the same amount of effort to level up, and save for changing save for a couple of options on which craftspeople you choose to live in your garrison. There's nothing much in variety. And even the shacks that the craftspeople work in look almost the same. It's very depressing. You can't decorate, you can't change it, you can't pick a different look for your for anything. You just no flexibility. But a lot of what goes on there becomes crucial. You constantly have to mine and farm and run errands all over this garrison for resources. For missions that you're supposed to be doing out in the field. So they basically got housing completely backwards. I don't know PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. I don't know anything about it. I've never even heard of it before. Oh yeah, I know there's half of Fortnite is building those fortifications. In mid-battle. And I noticed that a lot of the hardcore gamers are mocking Fortnite players on a routine basis. Nah. Yeah, this is one of the major problems. I've talked about this before. One of the major problems with World of Warcraft is that there is the players. The game is the game is loads of fun, and the community is I love hanging out with the community. I've found a guild that suits me to a T. Loads of fun. Easy way to make nice way to make friends online. It's just fun, but it does have its limitations. And Blizzard, in particular, seems toxically allergic to the idea of improving that game in any really fundamental fashion. They'll expand on it, but they'll leave the same base, and they'll twiddle with various little settings all through the game, nerfing this and buffing that. But the big league changes they don't want to touch. And one of the big issues is that it's a game where the players have very little agency. It means, you're presented with all these different missions and all these supposedly moral and ethical crises and choices and decisions you have to make, but the outcome is the same no matter what you do. The outcome at the end of the expansion, when you go through the storyline, and that tells you everything you know. It's a storyline. It's not it's not a quest, a storyline, and it has only one possible ending. Not even one good ending, one bad ending. It has only one ending. Because you'll be if you fail at it, you'll be reincarnated until you get to the ending you're supposed to go to. And like I said last time, this is one of the things that flew up everybody's nose about Miss Pandaria, is because even if you were playing the Alliance, even though you were playing the good guys' side, you were blamed for everything that went wrong in Pandaria, even though no matter what decision you made, things were going to go tits up anyway. There was no there was no decision you could make that could keep the giant jade this beautiful jade statue of the jade dragon from being destroyed in a giant battle. There was nothing you could do to keep the Veil of Eternal Blossoms from being corrupted by the Shah. There was nothing you could do to prevent. There was nothing you could do as either Alliance or Horde to keep Hellscream, the Horde war chieftain, from ripping Pandaria a new one. But you're supposed to sit there, your protagonist is supposed to sit there, your character is supposed to sit there and take being lectured about their moral failings by the game and by the Pandarians. It's painful, and it's really unpleasant, and it really spoils what is really one of the more fun and upbeat expansions in the game. And you can manage to, there are some expansions you can manage to level past certain expansions so that you don't have to engage the content, but you're still coming out the same end gate as everybody else. But how would you do that though? How would you make an online game for thousands of players where player decisions actually affect the outcome? You couldn't. One of the premises of online games is that every character is the chosen one. That's part of your problem right there. Is that every character is the chosen one, the special one, the one that's going to make the difference, even though they don't make any difference. Let's change that up. Here's a suggestion: just drop that. And second, you need a world that actually changes as people play in it, and it stays changed. But that's not how these games work. They are a carnival ride game. It's basically you get in the cart and you ride on the rails and you see all the little scenes in order that they have chosen, and then you get off, and then the next bunch gets on and sees the exact same thing behind you. The person who comes up with a game design for a massively, the person who actually comes up with a real online role-playing game where the online players can role-play and their choices actually make a difference in the outcome and actually do change the world for better or for worse. Those things, somebody who designs a game system that can do it, a game engine that can do that, that can handle that, is going to revolutionize the online gaming experience. The problem is right now we're not going that way. We're not going towards more complicated, innovative, and in-depth gaming. What we're going to is little bitty mobile handheld games. Candy Crush. Why? Because that's where most of the money is right now. More than half of the money in gaming, you take online games, you take computer games, you take console games, you put them all together. The mobile games make more money than that. They make more than half of the money made in games, largely because of the pay-to-win formula they have, where you play so far and then you have to buy a booster pack. Or there are people out there playing Candy Crush that pay several $100s a month just to keep going. Candy Crush. Now you take that, you take that game where the average player spends about $50 a month. Which would you want to make? You're a game designer. You have two choices. You can make a rinky-dink little game that that addicts players and has them paying $50 to $100 a month to you just for booster packs to get to the next level. Or you can make a huge, vastly complex and difficult to program game, like say Skyrim, and you sell it and you make $60. Which would you pick? Take a guess which way the gaming industry is going. Filthy casuals, yeah, that's where it's going. This is why the players at BlizzCon were so upset about Diablo. What is it? Diablo Infinity or whatever it's called, because it's going straight to mobile. It's going straight to cell phones. And that's a big warning flag on the what the future is going to look like. You know what I'm saying? They realize, congratulations, we're abandoning the console and home computer model, and we're going to start throwing all our efforts into getting games on your cell phone. Yeah, well, whatever. Infinite, immortal, eternal, etc. It's a problem. Is that many players they feel that one guy said I bought the game, I bought the original game, I bought the expansion package, I bought the I paid hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars into this franchise, and I am being ignored for for what they think is a more lucrative market. That's the fundamental problem with the online gaming model, is that originally when you bought a game, you bought a game. You bought the game, you took it home, it was yours. You've probably still got cartridges and DVDs and CDs stacked all over the place. You bought the game, you had the game. But now they're making more and more models where you have to go online to play your single-player game. You have to go online to participate in a game. You have to spend money on more and more money online just to continue playing their game. And they can screw you over at any moment. They can just, decide, oh, well, you're not making us rich enough, and toss in the flag and leave you with nothing but a receipt. And you won't even be able to play the game solo at home. And that's got players understandably upset. It's kind of hard to accept the idea, someday, someday everything's going to pass away, and you're not, this is going to be gone someday. And this is the thing that's holding up a lot of people from signing up to play online games, because they know that if they really get into it, one day that company's just going to fold up like wet toast and leave you holding an empty bag. It happened with, it happened to me several times. It's happened to me several times already. City of Heroes folded like wet toast. It was a poorly designed game anyway. I could bitch about that one all day long. But and now WildStar. WildStar, you want to talk disgruntled? I bought the game. I bought the whole game. I bought the original. I paid $50 for the original game, and then I paid out for several months a subscription back when they were still a paying game. And if I'm remembering correctly, they had a bargain. They said, pay this amount and get a lifetime free. I said, okay. I plunked down my cash, and then they went free to play. And I'm like, you assholes, you scammed me into paying for something you were going to be giving away for free. But I loved the game, and I kept playing, and eventually, they stopped doing any meaningful updates every other week. We have new speeder bikes in a different color, but no real expansions, no real changes, nothing really that reinvigorated the game. And people started drifting away, and then they gave up. They threw in the flag. Come November 28th of this month, the 28th of this month, that will be the last day that WildStar is playable. And basically, I just, me and thousands of other players have to live with the fact that we threw money down a rat hole. How am I going to handle the rampant number of homosexuals in the Wormverse and Warcrafter? Well, first of all, I wouldn't call it a rampant number. It's just that, just like the gay movement, the author made a big point of making a handful of homosexuals very prominent in the story. I'm sorry, the actual statistics for homosexuals is that we're talking gay, bisexual, lesbian, all alternate sexualities combined make up less than 5% of the population, and that's with their most generous numbers in their last studies and surveys. Okay, so it's not that there are so many of them. It's just that they're really, really noisy. I have addressed this. First of all, I addressed the fact with one of the prominent characters that is shuffled off as gay is Panacea. But in her case, it's largely because her sister has a love me aura. Her sister is basically a Supergirl package. She can fly. She has an invulnerable force field, but she also has an aura that makes people either adore her or run in fear from her, depending upon her emotions. And basically, since just about the start of puberty, Glory Girl has been bombarding everyone, including Amy, her sister, Panacea, with love me rays and that kind of messed Amy's life up a bit. And so I've chalked that up, as something that they're dealing with in therapy and lesson learned. Other characters, though, for instance, Parian and one member of the Triumvirate, the three biggest, most powerful superheroes. Legend. Legend is supposed to be openly gay with a husband and an adopted child. Get out your checklist and check off all the boxes for your social justice NPC. I'm simply just not going to address it. I'm not going to speak of it one way or another. It's fairly irrelevant to the story, really. Now they talk about how Flechette, one heroine, you have Parian, the cloth cape, the girl who has power over cloth. Uh, she quote unquote comes out as gay when they get her together with Flechette, but if you've read the book, you know that little relationship sort of falls apart kind of hard, as I remember. She was a minor character, just one of those notes in the background kind of thing. How am I going to deal with it? I'm not really sure yet. I'm just going to have to take it one page at a time, one paragraph at a time. Think of it as I go. We live in a violently intolerant society right now. They will not tolerate anybody overtly questioning deviant sexuality. They won't even tolerate you calling it deviant sexuality. All basic biology be damned. And I really don't want to have to deal with a headache of people screaming at me what a homophobe I am. Because I don't think two men or two women having, two men having sex together or two women having sex together is normal or healthy. And that it's not moral. They can tolerate anything except contradictory beliefs. They'll tolerate anything. They're so tolerant of everything except beliefs that contradict theirs. And they'll accuse you of anything under the sun if you contradict them. And 99 times out of 100, the things that they accuse you of, they're doing. Things they won't tell you is that the majority, the percentage they don't want to talk about the results of putting little boys in households run by two homosexual men or two lesbian women. They don't want to talk about the results that they've already got. There's been a disaster. These kids are coming out messed up socially and sexually and just can't handle life. They don't want to talk about the ones that the prevalent cases of kids being abused. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about it. And God help you if you mention it even in passing. How dare you say that you're accusing us of this? I read the most bullshit line in another fan fiction. A guy, Legend is speaking with Purity. Purity is an ex-E88. Of course, she's a Nazi, so she's the only person that they can put these words in her mouth, and get away with it. She says, you're raising a little boy. You and your gay husband are raising a little boy, and he's like, well, just the fact, you're going to raise him to be gay, aren't you? And he's like, well, just because he's raised in a household by two gay men doesn't mean he's going to turn out gay. Mm-hmm. The assumption, okay. First of all, the assumption that sexual orientation is not a matter of sexual. They can't make up their minds. They can't make up their minds. Whether sexual orientation is innate, biological, and 100% natural, or that it's a matter of choice. They'll switch the argument depending on which one suits them at the precise moment of their argument. God help you if you point that hypocrisy out. It's quite to the contrary. Psychologists and psychiatrists have come out and said flat out that homosexual people, especially women, tend to change switch out their orientation at least once or twice in their life. Their proclaimed orientation, anyway. They'll go straight to bi to straight again, or they'll go bi, gay, straight. They'll switch it up, and they've admitted it's a matter of environment, conditioning, and social motivation. Okay, Purity was based. What I repeat, Purity said, "What you're raising? You're raising you and your gay husband are raising a little boy. You're going to raise him to be gay." And he huffed the usual. Legend huffs the usual line that whatever he becomes, he'll be naturally gay, or whatever he becomes, it'll be because it's naturally what he's meant to be. Horseshit. They can't make up their minds. They cannot make up their minds whether sexual orientation is a matter of choice, whether it's a matter of biology. They'll switch sides on that argument. Depending on whether it, just depending on what argument they're in. Did you get that last bit now? Well, you got to talk to me, people. You got to give me feedback. I hate it when you do that. They say, it cut out, and then they never say anything for 5 minutes. No matter how long you keep talking. Are you still there? Okay, thank you. Good. Now, how the hell am I supposed to handle that? No matter what I do, it's going to be wrong. I can ignore it, like I have thus far. Or I can have one of the characters bump into him and sermonize him about it, which would be pointless. Basically, I'm thinking, among other things, I'm thinking of having Perry and get together with Sparky. I know there's a bit of time delay. It's just aggravating. We're here to serve you. Roasted on a spit to our bosses. But, oh yeah. Oh man. I'm trying to remember how honked off people were when I've had Rainbow Dash turn out to be heterosexual. They can't even see their own hypocrisy in that. You're you point out something. She's acting like a lesbian. You're stereotyping her as a lesbian, but then they're given a character who acts tomboyish, and they say she's got to be a lesbian. She's one of us. One of us. I'm like, you stereotyping bitches. You horrible hag. You're probably the reason that so many young girls had hell for lives in high school. Oh, that reminds me. That picture there, the one with the soccer ball and the two kangaroos. I've got a picture due for that guy in one of the. I've got a lot of pictures due for everybody. Anyway, I, I'm going to partially because I think it's funny. You know, this demure Asian girl, proper Asian daughter with her own business, and she's all uh, conservative and polite and all this other stuff. She ends up with the ex-stoner surfer dude. Why? Because they're both tailors. You're dating Sparky? Well, he made me a lovely rug. You're, I've got to have a scene with her mother. Her mother. How could you date this young man? He gave me a carpet. You're dating him because he gave you a carpet. It's a flying carpet, and he comes in. Just a jaw drop moment there. And then he comes flying in with this carpet with gold thread and gemstones the size of baseballs at each corner. I think I'd like to have a scene where some homosexual, fronts up. approaches Adrian and he says, "I hear you got a problem with my sexuality." He says, "You got a problem with me being married and having a kid of my own, being gay and being married to a man and having a boy of our own." He said, and he looks at him and he says, "Yeah. Now that you know that, could I ask you something? Is anything are you going to change your behavior?" He says, "No." He says, "Is anything I say to you going to change how you're going to live your life or how you're going to behave?" He says, "No." "Then what do you care? What I think or feel?" "I don't care." "Well, you're going to an awful lot of trouble to tell me that." You say that my opinion doesn't matter, but you're going a long way out of your way to make sure that I'm not thinking anything you don't approve of. Oh man, I remember when you remember in Nightmare Night in Nick's. There was one scene, in the denouement where they're all the they're doing dancing, right? And Scootaloo catches Rainbow Dash and Thunderlane doing a slow dance in a room off to the side, off by themselves. And Rainbow Dash freaks out about it because she thinks that if anybody sees her doing things like wearing pretty gowns or slow dancing, everybody's going to think her a wuss or a wimp. And Thunderlane gets fed up. He says, nobody had any problem with you acting like a girl. Call me back when you make up your mind. and he leaves. Whoa! The sparks flew, man. How dare you? And somebody went and put in controversial in the TV tropes page, and the whole 9 yards. It was they just had to flog that, just flog that wooden horse and tell everybody how they disapproved of my controversial opinion. And I brought out the point that Rainbow Dash's rather hostile attitude about anything quote unquote feminine or effeminate was causing problems for Scootaloo, because Scootaloo admires Rainbow Dash, but Scootaloo also wants to do these things too. She wants to dance, she wants to dress in pretty clothes, she wants to do, but she's afraid to admit to these things because of what she thinks Rainbow Dash might think of her. And of course the usual suspects. Throw him a doggy biscuit, man. Let's be honest here. I get the joke. Any controversial means any idea that comes from before the '60s. Let's be honest. Uh, the ideas of the '60s were not new. Okay, the ideas of the '60s are as old as time. They're as old as dirt. The ideas of communism and socialism, and the ideas of free love and all this other nonsense. The idea of sexual licentiousness and liberation, those are as old as time, and they have been tried by civilizations all over the world, and the results have always been the same. This is the slogan. No, we've tried it before. It cost the world, it did not work, and it killed people. In fact, hell no. You could just say that, or you could just make a tape recording of that, and every time a liberal opens their mouth with a new quote-unquote idea, just play that, and it'll apply. There should be a moratorium on the word controversial. So long as the world is being overrun by reactionaries, everything is controversial. It's a meaningless word now. I've gone to places with ideas that would get me in serious trouble, even among those that I generally agree with. I'll give you this to consider. Those people who had no Irish need apply in their ads, the ones who said no blacks, whites only in their restaurants. I think they were fully within their moral and constitutional rights. I think they were wrong to do it, and I think they were foolish to do it because it only hurt them in the end. Even without political activism running rampant, it would only hurt them in the end. But it was their right. Why? It's a principle we call the right of freedom of association, the right to assemble, the right to associate or not associate with whoever we choose. And we don't have to give a reason or excuse or a justification why. That's only a courtesy, giving a reason for why we don't want to hang out with group X, Y, or Z, that's a courtesy. You don't have a right to demand that answer from me, and I don't have to give it to you. Why do you need a gun? Doesn't matter to you. Whatever reason I have, it doesn't matter. I have a right to it. I don't need a reason. The idea behind a right is that you exercise it, and you don't have to justify it to anyone. Why do I say it's ugly when you got somebody who refuses to serve people from a different race or color or creed or whatever? But they will pay for that as a natural consequence anyway. Congratulations, you've just declared that a huge percentage of the people in your own city can't come through your front door or your store. How smart of you. Second, you've guaranteed that people who are offended by this behavior won't come through the door either. Aren't you brilliant? And third, you've guaranteed that your competition, who isn't so nitpicky about who they serve, is going to enjoy the benefits of their progress. Aren't you a frickin' genius? Isn't that amazing how the free market works? And no need of a legislator anywhere. Isn't that amazing? We managed to accomplish that without a legislator anywhere. They had a right to, as far as public schools go, they had a right to demand to be access to public schools because they were, quote, public. They were funded by the taxpayers for the taxpayers, and that meant all the taxpayers, regardless of race, creed, color, or orientation, or whatever else qualifications you want to add. Whether a free society should have a coercive educational system is another moral and ethical question entirely. But if it's there, they should have a right to it. Because everybody has an equal right to access to the services provided by the government which they fund and for which they voted. But a privately owned sandwich shop is not government service. A restaurant, a store, a sandwich shop, a company, they are not a government-provided service. They are privately owned. And the private owners have the right to associate or not associate with whomever they do or do not want. A constitutionally guaranteed right. A natural right. It's a natural right which we have ignored for 50 years. And which is coming home to roost. Because now we cannot even refuse ingress to people who are outright perverts, deviants, freaks, and criminals. We are not allowed to make any, we're not allowed to make any judgment call on who we are forced at gunpoint to serve other people. That's the irony of it. That's the irony of the movement in the 60s. Because it came down to them forcing other people to serve them at gunpoint. That nobody could see the irony of that or the hypocrisy of that at the time. Nobody would acknowledge it. Nobody would express it. We're paying for it now. We can't let the most we can't refuse access to the most depraved perverts on the planet. Because the right to freedom of association has been taken away. We would have been better off if they had gotten access to the school and stopped there. Society was already ashamed of how these people were behaving. Social pressure alone would have been more than enough to lean on these people to change their ways. And where it did not change, who the hell cared? Competitors with a more enlightened approach to their fellow man would have opened up services for anything you care to name and outdone them in business. And as a side note, I can't think of anything more fundamentally stupid than trying to force someone who hates your steaming minority guts to give you a job or to fix you a meal. That's like saying, please poison me the instant that somebody's back is turned. You might consider it divine irony. That's one way to look at it. Our ancestors stole their ancestors and forced them to work the fields against their will. So their descendants came along and now they're forcing everybody else to work for them. A fraction of the oppression, but more than enough to rub people's nose in it. Oh, man. By Western standards, Asians are raving bigots. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit that anybody thinks they're racist either. Oh, you think I'm racist? You think I'm racist? Screw you. I'm not going to have these people run around my store, steal all my stuff. Sneak up on my house, steal my house. Steal stuff from my house. Sneak up on my car, steal the wheels off my car. I don't care what bullshit you call it. I'm going to get the fuck out of my store. Get the fuck out of my house. Go the heck away. I don't care. You think I don't think you care I wear a white sheet. Tell you one thing you not see around our neighborhood. You not see them walking off with our stereo under their arm. This is the failure of this social movement is that they expect everybody to ignore. You know, they claim that they're fighting prejudice. What they're doing is that they are fighting people's experience. They are demanding that every one of us ignore our own personal experience with dealing with different groups of people. Meanwhile, they go out and behave in the most racist fashion imaginable. There's one David Horowitz. He was on a radio program once. He said, talking about how you just do not get out of the car in certain neighborhoods in this town. And he says, and then one of the ladies who was speaking, oh, you're so racist. You're so racist. And after the show, he was asking her if she was going to get out of the car and walk through that neighborhood with him. She said, "Oh, heck no." So long as she could, wave her little, memorial ribbon and show everybody how enlightened she was, she'd go ahead and behave in a way guaranteed to save her ass from being raped or murdered. Everybody else was a bigot for saying you should do just what she did. Saying that a black neighborhood is dangerous for a white person to walk through is not bigotry. It's common sense. It's reality. It's hard tax. I'm dang sure that there are a lot of black people that don't like that any more than I do. There are tons of black people that don't like the fact that they live in a crime-ridden neighborhood. There are tons of black people that won't walk through certain parts of their own neighborhood. But instead of dealing with the problem, they want to go, just a few more rounds of blame Whitey, and then leave everything the way it is. Two wrongs don't make a right. Much of what they did in the 60s was them trying to get even. It was revenge. It was two wrong. It was a second wrong trying to make another wrong right. And it didn't work. And it shows in our society. The social changes, many of the social changes that they demanded that came through because people went out and made it brutally, painfully aware of the inequalities and injustices in our society. Don't stand there and tell me our society hasn't changed when you can't even say the N-word without cringing. In a society where we used to blab it all over the neighborhood without even thinking. Don't tell me that that things haven't changed, that people haven't changed their attitudes. The problem is that many of them haven't changed their attitudes. They just swapped hands. They're out there talking about how white people are a plague on the face of the earth. Well, as a member of the white race, I'd like to extend a sincere apology to all the offended minorities for all that, penicillin and electricity and paved roads that we have afflicted your poor minority selves with. We terribly apologize for pulling your ass out of the fire in World War I and World War II. We are so dreadfully sorry that you are no longer living in yurts and tents and burning buffalo poo to stay warm in winter. So now that our apology has been extended, feel free to take all that Western corrupting stuff and just stack it up at the doorstep right over there, and just go back to living in tents and chasing smelly buffalo over the hills and burning their poop in your house to try and stay warm in winter. Enjoy your 40-year lifespans. And I hope you have lots of fun when you all start going into range wars and killing each other. Just like your noble ancestors used to when they were fighting over whose sacred ground it was this week. Lots of luck, and we wish you the best. Don't get me started on this stuff, man. I go off on a tear fast. We've not been taught to tolerate. We've been taught to obey, to subjugate ourselves, to bend the knee. It's a loss. It's a huge loss. There are people right now, we've got a small army of about 10,000 people marching towards our southern border. And we've got people in our own country who expect us to open the gates and let them come sweeping in. Got a real doorknob of a guy, Ross Sauer. He used to go by RHJunior. He's a horse's ass. He's a Kool-Aid drinking leftist, right down to his core. There is no evidence you can present to him that will change anything he says. I just reach a point where I see Ross Arkleit. He doesn't have, comment section, he doesn't have anything to say. He doesn't have anything worth listening to. No, sweetie pumpkin, you're not being silenced, you're just being ignored. There are people that are going to hate me for what I've said on this video. There are people that hate me already. There are going to be people that hate me and call me a bigot. Tell me I don't really know, I'm not a real Christian. I don't know the love of Jesus because I don't agree with them on all their little social issues. Just people like that just make me sick of life. I'm sick of having to kick up sand just to have a different opinion. I'm sick of having to live in a world where it's a uphill fight to say 2 plus 2 equals 4. And everybody's screaming at me to say 2 plus 2 equals 5. Some days I just reach the conclusion I have nothing to contribute to this society anymore. If I ever had anything, what I have, nobody in the society seems to want. Nobody in this world seems to want it. They love you so long as you're cute and unopinionated and entertaining. But then you say anything that even remotely brushes against their sacred chivalrous, it's all over. Every day it's another promise. Promise to myself that I'll do something productive, and every day it's a new, I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if I just didn't disappear into my room and just sleep for a week. I don't wake up. I don't wake up feeling rested. I wake up feeling just less tired. I'll wake up. I'll have to sit up for some reason. Just to let my sinuses drain, or let my head stop hurting, and or stretch my back, and I'll be sitting on the bed. I'll fall asleep sitting up on the edge of my bed. And the way my legs are, I have in order to lie back down in bed, I have to stand up, turn around and sort of do a sideways roll to get into bed, to get back into bed. I can't just scoot backwards. I can't lift my legs. The muscles in my legs aren't strong enough. And, well, it's a ridiculous rigmarole, and I end up falling asleep sitting up 3 or 4 or 5 times in a row before I finally stand up and do the the forward tumble into the bed. When I finally do get up, it's because it's more that I'm driven out of bed by the aches and pains, by the weird dreams I get when I oversleep, and I don't feel rested. I don't wake up in the morning feeling refreshed. I haven't felt refreshed in I don't know how long. You wake up and you're already tired. It's already noon and you're already tired. And you're lucky if if you've mustered enough energy to passively absorb whatever you're flipping past the computer screen at yourself. Well, that's one of the things about trying to straighten your life out is not knowing where to begin. Not knowing where to begin, and there's so many things that need to be done that I need to do. That personal in my artwork, in my business, in my so-called business, in my personal relationships, and just so many things. Usually, I end up defaulting to clean the house, and I've yet to manage that. I considered it a triumph when half the trash in my house was taken out and picked up by the trash men today. Coincidentally, my trash service has been canceled because I am $100 behind on my payments to them. So, yay. It's another thing to fuss about. Got to wait till the end of the month to pay them and get things restored. 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I don't make progress. I don't make progress. I just make track marks on the hamster wheel. I'm I really need to get more entertaining material because once I start talking like this, I turn into a really depressing individual. I don't want to be hurting people out there, you know. I don't want to be hurting people. I don't want people to be tuning in and listening to me, be going off and deciding to drink themselves into a stupor. You know, he's right. Some depressed guy tunes into me, and the next thing I know, I hear about some guy hanging himself after he hears my broadcast. I'm like, this is not where I wanted to go. This is what I would like to prevent. Because I have very few gifts. I have very few gifts worthy of measure, and one of them is to occasionally make people to laugh. And I've said it again, and I've said it again, and I've said it again, and I'll keep saying it because laughter is sometimes it's the only weapon. Sometimes laughter is the only medicine, the only nourishment, the only shield, the only weapon that we have. Well, I hope I can send people out at least somewhat inadequately armed. great. It's lagging. My computer's lagging. It's bogging down. That's why I keep starting this. I keep starting these shows. And I keep saying, "Oh, I'm going to do some drawing and everything." And by the time I reach a certain point, I go, "Screw it." Come on, computer. Typical. Something about, every. Come on, somebody else start talking, because I'm sitting here listening to myself and I'm depressing myself. Please, talk back to me. Talk back to me. Give me some mojo. Give me some feed. Give me some something. You know, something that's on your mind. Something that's, something trivial. Something, something fun. Something sad. Something happy. Anything. It's all you got. Yeah, let's drawings. Got to figure out what drawings to do here. Let's see here. Manga Studio. Let's hope I can start up Manga Studio without crashing the computer. Can you hear the rain? Can you hear the rain? There's the rain. Yay. I'm so excited I could just poop myself. Let's see. I planned on getting up early this morning. I was going to get up early with the sunrise, and I was going to sit down. I was going to spend several hours just writing. Tappity, 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 tappity. You know, just write some chapters for all my stories. Then I was going to do some drawing. Drawity, 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 drawity. Cough. Cough, cough. Choke, choke. It's like, oh yeah, I was gonna do some art, baby. And then I went to bed, and I went to bed like early. I forget when. I think it was like early Thursday, maybe even earlier. And I went to bed. I went to bed, I think, Thursday morning, because I had been up all night. I went to bed about Thursday, and Thursday morning about 9 or 10, and I went to bed, and well, actually more like, well, anyway, I went to bed. I slept and 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 I slept. And when I was finally, uh, I don't wake up refreshed. I wake up and I determine whether I'm awake or not by the fact of whether or not I fall right back to sleep sitting up on the edge of the bed. And I woke up and it was like 2 in the afternoon, 12, 1, 2, something like that. Today. I think maybe I should incubate, or hibernate, or I'm reaching a point where I'm wondering if I'm about to generate a cocoon or something. Drag this giant pod to the next comic book convention. It pops open. He's alive! Patreon header? What Patreon? What header? What header where? Oh, crap. Don't tell me that you can't win, you know? The battle's lost. This world's lost. This world is lost. We're just going to have to wait for a new one. It's that simple. What Patreon header? Where are you talking about? I do not know what you reference. And I have no idea if it's there. I don't know why. Change it. I can't even find it. For some reason, it defaults to my own homepage. I don't know. It won't let me go to oh my god, it just won't let me do that. That's my homepage. I don't know. I don't see any. I can't do nothing about it. I can't do nothing about it. Further, further. My homepage. I need to do, fudge. I need to do everything. I need to do everything. I don't want to do nothing. That's my pitiful problem. I don't know. I can't say what's there. Not really much I can do about it. If it's on the front page, it's not mine. I can't change it. Good question. I don't know. I'll put it up there. I don't see the. I don't know. It may be a. It may be a. What do you call them? I don't know. Patreon.com. I type it in. It goes www.patreon.com. Then it goes www.patreon.com home. And I don't know. Let's see. Post patrons benefits dashboard notification message. It goes to my manager. It goes to my site. I don't know why it. Well, I could try logging out. See what that does. I don't see any gay pride logo on the front page. I've made it to the front page, but very odd. Nope. I don't see any gay logos. I don't know. Well, hip hip huzzah. I don't see any. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see any Patreon logo. I don't see any gay logo or anything like, or any. I don't see a rainbow logo or anything like that. So I don't know what you're talking about. Thus, we are thwarted and confused and rendered feeble of mind. I'm starting to wonder if I should invest in a subscription to Monster Energy drink. You can do that, by the way. Go to Amazon.com. I think you have to have Amazon Prime, but I'm not sure. But you can subscribe to various products, and they will send them to you on a monthly basis. And auto charge you for them. Ding, you know, ding, ding, you know. Nah, couldn't begin to afford it. Need to stop. It probably wouldn't hurt if I started taking my vitamins on a regular basis. Learn more horrifying things about Made in Abyss, by the way. If you're thinking about watching it to see what, don't. Okay, okay. It's been summed up in 4 words: torture porn starring kids. Okay, and that's just the beginning of it. I've seen clips from the thing. I've seen still images. Oh, featuring well, sexual abuse of small children. And a picture. What would you call it? A picture of a naked pre-adolescent girl tied up in bondage ropes, dangling from a ceiling. Right there in the anime. Yay! What the hell, Japan? Just no. Just no. Hell no, actually. No. Just. Oh. I've got an ongoing market in perverts in Japan. I thought, what the hell? What the hell? Just spare yourself some. Just spare yourself some disillusionment and trauma and corruption of your own mind with images, and just don't go looking for Made in Abyss, or as I like to call it, these precious moments children go to hell. Is there anybody left in this world who isn't standing behind a pulpit crying out against this? And why do I say, not standing behind a pulpit? Because that's what you expect preachers to do. That's what you expect gospel leaders to do. Just surprise me, surprise me with an ordinary person in a position with meaning who stands up and says, "No, this is wrong. This needs to stop." Show me one. Show me one. Anywhere. Show me one manga writer or anime director who stands up and says, "This is what my coworkers are doing is disgusting. I won't have it in my studio." I don't know why you're seeing an LGBT logo anywhere, Ben. Not much I can do to help you with it. I can't even see what you're looking at. I got all this started off what got this pitch a fit moment started off? Somebody asked me how am I going to deal with the major characters in Worm, or they're especially openly gay. You got at least three of them in canon. One of them is Legend, one of the members of the Triumvirate, the three big superheroes. He's gay. He's got a husband. He's got a adopted boy, child. He's got, and then there's Panacea, and then there is Parian and Flechette. To be fair, count both of them. If I express myself truthfully, it's going to cause nothing but trouble. That's the truth. They are, they don't want to hear that there are people still out there who find homosexuality, the homosexual lifestyle, to be morally repugnant. They don't want to hear the damage that homosexuals have done to their own children. They don't want to hear the damage that homosexuals do to themselves. They don't want to hear any of that. They don't even want to hear that anybody holds a contrary opinion to them. The only person who is allowed to speak out against homosexuality in any of these fans fictions is an ex-Nazi. And that's the closest they've come to letting anybody express a contrary opinion. And this is something I didn't really think over too carefully when I started with these fan fictions, is it? Of course, you can't write too many fan fictions of anything anymore where somebody isn't supposed to be gay in the main cast. You just write a basic story with no gay characters in it, and they'll come after you. Even if it's all original material, they're like, why didn't you represent our homosexuals in here? It's what they did to Rowling. They got mad because they weren't out there, because they didn't have groups of boys and girls out there bopping each other's bananas in the closets. Why is it that they feel like that their lives are unfulfilled without that? Most of them are not even gay themselves, but they somehow just, the joy in their life is thwarted unless there is at least one homosexual couple in the story somewhere. People got all torqued at me because I wrote Rainbow Dash is straight. They got torqued at me for writing Lyra and Bon Bon as just being friends and having relationships of their own with stallions. Ooh, you know. But there's no gay agenda. There's no homosexual agenda. There's no such thing. You're just imagining it. Consider this. Look, I've talked to people ask me, this is I've mentioned this before about women, the false accusations against men, the false accusations against men by women, accusing them of sexual misconduct. Even when confronted with a hate, this bilious hatred, if you confront them with the truth, with the facts, with the evidence, with the statistics of just how often it goes on, you point out the fact that it's making the news every other week now. This group or that group or this individual or that person is being accused of outrageous sexual behavior. And it turns out to be false, but we should, we believe you, we believe you, we believe you. We don't need any proof. You know why they don't want to give that up? You know why they don't want to give that up? Because it's power. The ability of any woman to accuse any man of a sexual crime is power over men. And they are not about to give that power up. The feminist bias in our society, on every level, it's not about equality. It's about having power over men. It stopped being about equality when they stopped demanding the vote and stopped demanding equal pay for the same job. It stopped being about equality entirely when they kept going and demanding more and more and more. They want to punish men for crimes that they themselves never suffered, that these men never committed, because it's about power. This is one thing they never seem to get, is that, one of these woke guys, not woke, the red pill guys, he said, people, he was addressing the question of why do women insist that rape is about power? Why do they insist that why do they insist that men rape women as a power thing? He points out that's rubbish. If rape was about power, first of all, it wouldn't be rape. They would be physically assaulting these women, beating them into the ground. And secondly, they would be, the victims would not be young, teenage to 20-something women. Those would not be those would not be the main targets of rape. The main targets of rape would be very young little girls and very elderly, frail old women, because they would be the weakest and the least able to fight back. That's what a rape culture built around about power would look like. And he points out, why do they say it's about power? Because it comes down to this: women and men are fundamentally different in how they approach sex. Men, and this is a truth, we all know it, men accumulate power, wealth, political influence, physical strength, big shiny cars. Men accumulate power in order to get sex. Women, on the other hand, use sex to obtain power. Or as Frazier put it in his his housekeeper said, "Oh, don't tell me you never use sex to get what you want." And he looked at the housekeeper and he said, "How could men use sex to get what they want? Sex is what they want." It inform, this awareness informs everything about how women and men interrelate to one another. Both genders enjoy the hell out of sex, I'm sure. But what it means for them is two entirely different things. For women, sex is a means to power. For men, power is a means to sex. And deny it all. Feel free to try and deny it. In an amoral society, men measure themselves by how much, against other men, by how many notches they have on their bedpost. But it's all the other games they play is how they get those notches there in the first place. Why is this this way? Why is it this way? Because women in any culture are basically the gatekeepers of sex. If the woman says no, in a civilized world, when a woman says no, the man is denied. Period. In a barbaric society, he can take what he's after by force. But he's not after power over the woman, he's after the sex. He already has the power over her. But in any society, women use sex to obtain power over men. There's a reason that female porn stars make 10 times what their male counterparts do. There's a reason that a bimbo of any social standing can bring down even the greatest men in power with a single accusation or a misplaced photograph. even in a Christian home, even in a home whose boundaries are delineated by the laws and rules and blessings and benevolence of God Almighty. It is the man who does the pursuing. And his objective is to obtain enough stability, financial stability, resources, home, car, job, etc., etc., to demonstrate that he is a good provider, so that the female will believe that he is a good provider, move in, and bear his children for him. Share his bed, raise his, birth and raise his children. We all operate under the same laws, the same functions, the same biology. She's got so many people who want to be in denial about it. I've heard a lot of preachers saying that the end times are near. The problem with that is because of the way the world's corrupted. Well, the first problem with that is that the preachers are always saying the end times are near. And the world's always been corrupted. And quite frankly, if you read a newspaper, if you read a history book, it's quite blatant that as bad as things are today, they haven't got a lick on how they've been in the past, even in the distant past or the fairly recent past, however you want to look at it. They said it was, one of the things in the Bible says is, as it was in the days of Noah. Now I want you to picture just how bad the world had to be before God had to decide to flood it to purge it. And just how much further away we are from it from that perspective. Consider the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. It had to be so depraved that there weren't 10 righteous men. And when they say 10 righteous men, we're not talking pious and holy and righteous, just not rotten to the core. There weren't even 10 men in the whole of the city. That even reached, the same level as Lot and his family. And Lot was willing to throw his daughters out to a mob to be raped to death just to placate them. So we're not talking exactly a pious and holy man here. So you can imagine what that city was like. Or maybe it'd be better to say you can't imagine how vile and depraved that city was. We can't imagine what it was like. We're not, we are not even close to we're not even as close to utter corruption as some cities were a few generations ago. So are the end times near? Nobody knows. But I think it goes to say that they're always near. I think it's my suspicion. It's been my suspicion. It's not any bit it's not based on anything scholarly or biblical or any particular passage in the Bible. But I think it's not a matter of time. I don't think it's a matter of time so much as a matter of temperature. That there's a barometer, if you will, that measure just how far the world is from everything breaking loose, and that it waxes and wanes as the free will of humanity changes its course. It's a wobbling needle. So that and because it is based on human free will is the reason that Jesus himself said, he said that even the Son of God does not know the hour in which he is returning, because it is something that God has left up to us. It's a matter of human free will and just how depraved we are going to allow ourselves to get. Prepare ye the way, for in such an hour as ye think not, the Son of Man cometh. If you're hearing this and you're not a Christian, make it right with Jesus right now. Turn to him, believe, admit to him that you believe he is the Son of God. Admit that you know he died for your sins and rose again. Ask him to save you and accept him as Savior. Because there is nothing, just nothing, absolutely nothing at all more important. And you don't know how much time you have left or this world has left. Turn to Jesus and live. That's my prayer for all of you. Turn to Jesus. Weak and wounded sinner, lost and left to die. Turn to Jesus and live. You're not going to be able to save yourself by being righteous enough or good enough, or by going to enough church attendances, or doing enough rosaries, or making enough confessions. It's not by works, it's by Jesus. Don't waste time. It's the one resource you cannot refund, no matter how much you try. You can only spend it and lose it. Okay, it is 9:30, and it is late at night, for me especially. It's black as the inside of a cat out here. It's dark, it's depressing, it's getting chilly. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Say a prayer for me and say a prayer for each other. I'll probably do another broadcast tomorrow night. God willing, I will actually be able to get some hours in and get some solid work done before anything else. Hopefully, I will wake up tomorrow feeling refreshed instead of feeling flattened, not hurting in all my joints. Y'all take care. Have a good night.